Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is coming to speak to Congress July 24th on a bipartisan invitation from the leadership of both parties. Netanyahu is going to pressure Congress for more money, more weapons, to continue to defy international law in support of Israel's genocide, and maybe even to send our sons and daughters to die for Israel. Congress knows that's what he wants. They want that to happen. They want to give him even more of your taxes to blow up more hospitals and schools in Palestine. But let's also remember the fact that this is happening at a time when almost 2/3 of people in this country are living paycheck to paycheck. It's happening at a time when the leading cause of bankruptcy in America is medical debt. Test scores in American schools are hitting the lowest level in decades. There's an illiteracy crisis in this country, not just among kids, but adults. Our infrastructure is among the worst in the developed world, and last year, the U.S. suicide rate hit an all-time high. But what's Congress concerned about? That they haven't given enough of our money to Israel. Congress has already committed over $20 billion to Israel in the last 9 months and covers for their genocide at every single step. But that apparently isn't enough for them. So now they've decided to invite the architect of the genocide to make the highest lawmaking body in this country his captive audience. But that's not even the craziest part. The craziest part is that the International Criminal Court may very soon issue an arrest warrant for Netanyahu, in which case Congress would be harboring an internationally wanted criminal. Congress would be legally obligated to arrest Netanyahu, but the United States itself refuses to sign on to the Rome Statute and refuses to recognize the authority of the ICC. When the ICC started going after Netanyahu, members of Congress wrote a letter to the ICC threatening to impose severe sanctions on the court's leaders if they issued an arrest warrant, and that such an action would be interpreted as a threat not only to Israel's sovereignty, but to America's sovereignty. It's been reported that Netanyahu's traveling with a much smaller delegation than usual because if he brings more people on his plane, they'll have to stop to refuel. And if they refuel in any country that's part of the ICC, that government would be obligated to arrest him. So his plan to fly directly to the United States is literally based on the fact that he knows that the United States is the only state he can safely travel in. Congress won't do anything about healthcare. They won't do anything about student debt. They're perfectly happy to ignore the housing crisis that's raging in every city in America. But shielding an internationally wanted war criminal is a hill they're willing to die on. And let's just remember who these people are. They're not workers. They don't do or make anything. Their job is being politicians. And most of them are millionaires. Literally the 1%. 9/10 of them are just mouthpieces for the last lobbyists to take them out to lunch. They're criminals. They're white-collar criminals. They're just as guilty as this war criminal they're inviting to Congress. Hell, half of them are making money off of his genocide. They're parasites that only live to serve themselves. So this isn't just a Palestine issue. It's not just an Arab issue or a Muslim issue. This is an issue for all Americans. Because one of the many things that this genocide in Gaza has shown us is that our so-called representatives abdicated their responsibility a long time ago. They have more loyalty to their criminal friends overseas than they do to their own constituents, to the point where they'd sooner harbor them from facing a trial for genocide than listen to us. The last time Netanyahu came to Washington, he received constant standing ovations from Congress, both Democrat and Republican. Now they want to honor him again as he butchers Gaza and stands as the main impediment to a ceasefire to create the illusion that he's some respectable leader. Netanyahu is anything but a respectable leader. He's an international pariah that's trying to overcome his global isolation by visiting Congress. Politicians who invited him don't represent us. Just the elite corporate donors cutting their checks.
Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, says he will arrest any members of Congress who dare to interrupt Benjamin Netanyahu's speech inside of Congress next week. Again, he is threatening members of America's Congress with arrest if they interrupt a foreign leader giving them advice on what to do. And look at this article. It's from the Times of Israel. How much power does a foreign country have over us where American politicians would be arrested if they spoke out against that dictator, who's apparently a dictator of America, too? No country in the world would ever allow something like this. Israel themselves would never allow the President of the United States to ever go visit their version of Congress, the Knesset, to give advice to them. This is absurd. And when Benjamin Netanyahu gives his speech on camera, it is also broadcasting to the world that Israel rules America.